All right, so get started. What basically is our agenda for tonight? So first of all, we're going to talk about what Umpire Academy is, the history of Umpire Academy, and the Umpire Academy events that we're going to have this year, and a typical day during the Umpire Academy, the application process, and then any questions at the end. So that's our agenda for tonight. So starting off, what is Umpire Academy? So basically what we want to run it as is a little mini umpire school where you can attend and we will basically work on your game and try to make you a better umpire is the whole process. You'll be attending 3 events, and we'll be talking about those events in another slide, throughout the year that will allow you basically to accelerate your learning. So it starts off, the first event would be a tournament, the second event's a provincial, and the third event is another tournament at the end of the year. And the idea is we're hoping that you take the information that you get from the first event and try things in the second event, and then work on it, maybe even at home, umpiring in your local association, and then coming and through the 3 different events throughout the year. And hopefully you're getting better and taking the advice that we're giving you and the learning that you're getting and implementing it into your game. There'll be classroom sessions during these events. So there's classroom sessions where you'll be learning more deeper rule details on more than just the basics that you would learn at, say, a level 1-2 clinic. We will be doing cage work where we're going to have like pitching machines coming at you and kind of working on your stance, your strike call, etc., stuff like that. And then there'll be also live games where we'll actually be there watching your live games. It'll be 2 umpire systems. And during your live games, we might actually even talk to you in between innings. We might talk to you, we'll definitely be talking to you after the game and giving you a full evaluation of things that you're doing well, things that you need to work on, etc., and giving you some more advanced kind of advice and stuff like that. You'll umpire at a provincial championship with a non-working supervisor. Now, this tournament is slightly different where there'll be no classroom sessions at the provincial championship. You'll have a non-working supervisor give you feedback sometimes during the game, but not as often. But definitely after the game, you'll get feedback from your supervisors that will be sitting there watching in the stands. Most of your expenses, now we're still working everything out. Most of your expenses are paid. However, the games that you do umpire, you will not get your game fees for. I know this has been done in other places like BC, which we're going to talk about, and they actually charge $175, I think, to attend the Umpire Academy. This year, we're not charging anybody, but we may have to in future years just to kind of sustain this depending on budget, right? And then the other thing is you get a high student to instructor ratio. So until we get the first tournament figured out, but we're kind of looking at, for every 2 students having like 1 instructor, or maybe every 3 students having 1 instructor at most. So the really good high student to instructor ratio at the Umpire Academy. A bit of the history of the Umpire Academy. Well, this is our first year, so there isn't really a lot of history, but it did come from what they're doing in BC and have been doing in BC for a long time with the BCBUA. I actually attended, I came from BC, and I attended as a 16-year-old, I attended my first Umpire Academy many, many years ago. It kind of disappeared from BCBUA, and then I'd say it was about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, BCBUA brought it back. Steve Butang, who at the time was a provincial supervisor, brought back the Umpire Academy. And what we really noticed is coming out of BC is there's a lot of good young umpires coming into the national program. So our plan is to copy them because they're doing so well with this, with their permission, of course. I've already talked to them. They've been helping out, actively helping us whenever we have questions on how they're running their academy. And so really what we're trying to do is feed on something that's been very successful in BC for the umpires that are coming out of there. into the national program. All right. So there are three, as I was saying before, there's 3 Umpire Academy events throughout the year. The first one is a tournament in Sherwood Park on May 30th to June 1st, or 2nd, sorry. And that would be our first event. Second event is the Provincials Weekend, which would be July 25th to 28th, and the locations to be determined. Depending on where we get umpires coming from for this that apply, we are going to try to have them attend a tournament that's closer to them, if we can, all possible. And then there's a Rawlings Cup at the end. The Rawlings Cup is August 22nd to 25th. And the location of that, I don't think has been determined yet, but will be. So basically, the idea is that we want you to attend all 3 events if you can. On your application that we'll talk about at the end, you can put which events that you can make in case there is a weekend that you can't. But for the most part, depending on how we get applicants, we'll be giving preference to people that can attend all 3 events, because that's the idea, is that you attend all 3 and we kind of get a progression. Okay, next. So here's a typical day during Umpire Academy. This is, again, only what we think because we haven't run it yet. But it'd be during a tournament, and you would get, so example, 9 a.m. you get up and you'd have classroom work, obstruction maybe is the topic for an hour and 15 minutes. And then you go and you would have about 45 minutes to get ready to umpire your first game of the day. And maybe you're umpiring the bases from 11 a.m. to 1:30. And then after that game, you'd have lunch. And then starting at 2 o'clock, you would go into the cage work with another instructor. And then from 4 to 6:30, you would umpire another game. Maybe you're on the plate for this game. Again, this is all 2-umpire system. And then 8 p.m., we'd have like a group dinner. Now, while that's all happening, you may be, so for example, say there's 8 students that go to Umpire Academy for this tournament. We would have, say, probably 4 of them umpiring at one point and 4 of them in the classroom or cage work at one point. So you'd have at 9 o'clock, while you're in the classroom doing your obstruction, maybe another umpire is actually umpiring a game, or 4 umpires umpiring games. Then when you're umpiring, they're into that classroom work. So that's kind of how it works throughout the tournament. So we're covering a lot of the games that they have for the tournament. But when you're not on the field, you're either probably in the classroom or cage work. So they do become long days. But the stuff that you've learned, during hopefully the classroom or the cage work, you can implement during your session or during your games. So, all right. Do we have any questions? I see one in the chat. Jeff, is there anything that's relevant so far?
There is nothing yet in the chat in terms of questions, Rob, but if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to put it into the chat.
Perfect. So application process, I'm actually going to bring over here. Let's see if you can see this. This is the Baseball Alberta page. So to apply for this, the deadline is May 1st. But if you go under Baseball Alberta and then you go to Umpires, you'll see Umpire Academy sitting right here. You can click on that. And under here, it tells you a little bit more about what the umpire and the purpose of the Umpire Academy is all about. And then you can either click here for the application form. And that'll open up this form where you'll need to put your name, your birth date, address, and more importantly, which tournaments you can do, highest level you've umpired at. And then there's 2 paragraphs outlining your experience as an umpire, and then you write out tell us why you want to attend the Baseball Alberta Umpire Academy. And then you submit that after doing that. So then we will get that, and we will go through our applications after May 1st and decide who will be attending the academy that year. So going back to station. So again, the application deadline is May 1st. You must have umpired at least 1 year, and you must be 16 years old, and you can apply online where I showed you. So that's the application process. And then any questions? Short but sweet presentation.
Yeah, thanks very much, Rob, for that quick little breakdown in terms of the Baseball Alberta Umpire Academy. It is a exciting new initiative that we have that we're borrowing from our neighbors to the west, where we were able to snatch you up from a few years ago. I do know that we've gotten a few questions in so far, but if anyone else does have any questions for Rob, please feel free to enter them into the chat. The first question that we have, Rob, if you could just expand upon it, is the Baseball Alberta Umpire Academy plan just to be kind of a one-time thing for 2024? Or is this something that the umpire committee and your group is looking on doing every single year?
The plan is to try to do this every year. Obviously, there is a budget this year for it. Hopefully, we get a budget for it every year, and that is the plan. But yes, the idea would be to continue to run this as long as, and we should be able to, go to Baseball Alberta, hopefully with the success of this event, and say that it's well worth the cost of the event. And that's why in the future, maybe it will cost a few dollars per participant. Like I said, in BC, I think they charge $175, but that would include your hotels and meals and that. So it's really not a lot of money for what you get for it. But for this year, plan is for it to be free, and the plan is to keep running it year after year after year, because we want to invest into our young umpires.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I do know that this has been something that has been a great success in British Columbia that we're looking to duplicate here. Another question that has came through is from Tyler in Southern Alberta. As we know, we have different types of associations and leagues throughout Alberta, and this is kind of a Baseball Alberta initiative, but Tyler asks, is it okay if I'm not currently in the NUCP program to potentially apply, whether he's a Little League umpire or Babe Ruth or American Legion? Is there a potential for those folks to kind of make the jump to the Baseball Alberta side of things?
For sure. The one thing, so, whether you're a Little League umpire, you can still apply, but you would have to pay your Baseball Alberta a membership, I believe. I don't know if Strocky's on, but my understanding is you still have to be a member of Baseball Alberta to apply.
Yeah, for sure, especially with it being a Baseball Alberta initiative. Next question that we have is Scott is asking, could you just expand upon what would be kind of the poster child candidate for the Baseball Alberta Umpires Academy? Is it more for the newer umpires, the level 1 and 2s, or are we looking for more of those level 3 and 4s that are looking to take that extra little next step?
Honestly, it could be for all of them. I think for the most part, we're looking for the newer umpire, whether they're level 1, level 2. But depending on the candidates we get, there's no reason why a level 3 couldn't be one of the choices for sure. We just would have to make our decision based on who we get and who we think would most benefit from this. And it could be a level 3 umpire.
Absolutely. One of the other questions that's coming through, and by all means, if folks do have additional questions, enter them into the chat. Clarence is asking, you talk about the 3 events that you've listed in terms of the tournaments. It's a two-part question. What if an umpire or a candidate is unable to attend all of the events? And then the second part about that is it just kind of the focus during those three events, or is there going to be follow-up and discussion with these umpires through a mentorship perspective throughout the season outside of those events?
So that is a very good question. So if you can't attend, I would still, for all three events, apply and say how many events you can. But the preference would be to be everybody to be all three events, but maybe we can work it out where somebody can't make one event but can make other events. We might be able to still make it work out. On the point of mentorship, yes, that is actually a very good point. Our idea is to kind of check in. So the instructors that will be there will be checking in with you throughout the year to see how things are going and have you tried maybe this new stance or whatever. So yes, the idea is to kind of have these check-in points throughout the season, not just the three tournaments. And if it's possible, maybe they're not very far away, I can come out and watch whoever umpire a game mid-season just as a mentorship type thing and see how he's doing or whatever. So yes, that is a very good question, and it's something we plan to do.
Yeah, and then an additional follow-up that we actually just got into the chat here as you were answering that is how is this from an overall sense going to make someone a better umpire over the course of the season, whether it's the tournaments or kind of the in-between ongoing mentorship?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think the feedback that you'll be getting post game and during the game will help you a lot, and especially if you implement the advice that the instructors will be giving you, as well as like the classroom stuff, going into the cage, working on your stance, refining it, right? Making sure that you can see that the outside part of the plate, so that you're calling a good outside pitch, and maybe you weren't, maybe you were missing that low pitch because you couldn't see how the catcher was receiving it because your stance was improper. So the idea is get everybody in the proper mechanics and everything like that. So hopefully they become better umpires from it. And I can't see why you wouldn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know one of the key things that you had spoken upon, Rob, in your presentation was there was a very big learning focus on the two umpire system. One of the questions that we have from Jamie is, do we learn just on the two umpire system, or is there going to be some diving into the three umpire system, which is a system that we focus a little bit more on at the level 3 and higher levels of umpiring?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jamie. The main thing for this year would be the two umpire system. In future years, we could move into the three umpire systems, maybe with students that have attended before. Maybe they come back for a second year. We haven't really figured all that out, whether they would come in a second year. But if they did, that's when we'd probably introduce more three umpire system. But for the most part, for this year, we are going to focus on two umpire system and basically try to master that.
Yeah, which is very key to master the two umpire system because it is something that we all work on throughout the year, whether it's you're a brand new level 1 umpire or even a level 5 umpire that's been to international tournaments like yourself, Rob. One of the questions that has popped up is, let's say an individual is not successful in being selected to the Umpires Academy here in 2024. Do they still have the chance to apply in 2025 or 2026 to be a part of this exciting initiative?
For sure. Like I said, the idea is to continue it year after year and keep applying. I know BC, and maybe if we get enough people applying, maybe we would run a larger group or set more different tournaments we would do. So yeah, the more interest we get, and if we have a steady stream of people, we just keep applying, and we will maybe even expand it more bigger than it will be this year. Like I said, this year is more of an experiment year. Try to see what works and what doesn't, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I do know that's kind of a quick segue into a bit of a plug for our next Baseball Alberta Umpires Point of the Plate, which will be focused on umpire mentorship. That's going to be taking place on April 4th, if anyone wants to mark that down in their calendars. With that, by all means, if someone does apply to the academy, our mentorship task force will, by all means, try and connect with those folks to hopefully advance their umpiring, regardless if they're in the academy or not. One of the other questions that has popped up, Rob, from Liam, he's asking, if I apply for the academy, do I still need to go to a Baseball Alberta umpire clinic this year? And if I am selected for the academy, what level of umpire is that going to make me? Is that going to allow me to maybe jump a couple of umpire levels moving forward?
Okay, that's a great question, Liam. You will still need to attend your either level 1, 2, or 3 clinic, whatever you're slated for this year, on top of the Umpire Academy. The Umpire Academy is going to improve your skills that you could probably then the next year maybe do a level 2 or level 3 clinic if you're a level 1, but it's not necessarily going to jump you up just because you attended umpire school. But it will give you the skills, and we will then maybe recommend you, hey, next year, I think, you should attend this clinic, or this level of clinic. And it would definitely advance you, but it wouldn't like automatically advance you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's an extra bit of a leg up for someone, but we don't mean that, hey, today you're a part of the Baseball Alberta Umpires Academy and tomorrow you're going to be working opening day in the major leagues. It just doesn't work out that way. One of the key questions that's came in from Graham is he's wondering, what should I do to improve if I don't get into the academy the first time? What is kind of the key characteristics of someone that we're looking for the Baseball Alberta Umpire Academy?
Well, especially for the first year, it could just be numbers. We can only take so many students in the first year. Maybe the second year we decided to take more because we had so many applicants that we thought were, good candidates, but we couldn't say yes because we only had, say, a limit of 8, for example. I'd say, what could you do? Well, just keep umpiring games. Try to work with other umpires that are maybe more experienced than you, if you can, and try to attend whatever tournaments or provincials, apply for provincials. That's how you kind of get noticed in the end. And then make sure, you let people know that you do go to these provincials. If you have a supervisor there, that, hey, I'm really interested in this umpire academy and I'm trying to work on this, this, and this, and it'll get back to us, and we'll know it for next year when you apply again.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I do know the biggest number that keeps coming up, Rob, is the number 8 of, oh, well, it could be potentially 8 candidates. It depends on the budget. Do we have a set number right now for who's all going to be the number of folks taking part in the academy? Or is it kind of just dependent on where the interest and the budget numbers kind of all fall out?
It's a little bit of that. My understanding is we're kind of targeting for 8 for this year, but it could work out that if we get so many applicants, we might decide to go larger if we think we can handle it. We just don't want to be at a point where we don't have the right number of instructors, or not enough games for the umpires to umpire at the tournament if we have too many at one tournament. And then do we divide it into other tournaments as well? I think that's a question more for other years as opposed to this year.
Absolutely. By all means, we'd like to have more interest than not enough interest from that standpoint, and hopefully have this going for years and years to come. By all means, we've had a lot of really good questions so far, but if you have a question that you just want to ask Rob or are interested about, please feel free to add it into the chat. We did receive a question from Clayton, who it appears like they might be still trying to burn off kind of the winter calories before ball season. Just wondering, is there a fitness aspect of the academy? Is there going to be a minimum fitness standard for umpires who are kind of some of the biggest athletes out on the field, jokingly?
Um, well, that's a question I wasn't really prepared for, but there would not be if you can umpire games, you can attend Umpire Academy. Would we encourage, and there might be some part where we do a little bit of fitness stuff, get warmed up before we do some drills or some cage work. So yeah, you have to be able to do some of that. But if you can umpire a 3-hour game, usually you can do some of the things that we're going to be able to do on the field. So
And so we're not going to have the fitness aspect like soccer officials.
yeah, no, you don't have to have a timed entry for your 1 mile run, and it has to be under a certain amount, because otherwise I'd never attended Umpire Academy. So
I don't think I would have either, Rob, and you've seen me run on a baseball field before. It's not pretty. Uh, One of the next questions we have is Logan has sent in a question that kind of ties not only to the Umpire Academy, but even beyond, kind of in terms of life, is what are some examples of skills that candidates or attendees of the Umpire Academy would possibly learn that would translate off the field?
translate off the field. Okay, so I guess maybe some people skills. You translate that, like how to deal with different types of personalities and stuff like that. We'll give you advice on how to do that when you say you're dealing with maybe a manager. It's a little bit more difficult, and certain things that you might want to say or not say that would either escalate or de-escalate the situation. And that obviously those type of skills work in anywhere in life, with your boss or with coworkers or whatever.
Yeah, no, for sure. Umpiring as kind of a hobby or a profession for those folks that take it to the next level does teach you those skills of conflict management, leadership, how to diffuse difficult situations. So yeah, the learnings are endless, not only on a baseball side of things, but also kind of helps you out in day-to-day life. Uh, One
For
of the
sure.
other questions that we have is you talked about that as a part of the Baseball Alberta Umpire Academy, people will be receiving hands-on instruction and mentorship from some of Alberta's top umpires in kind of that small mentor to student ratio. Could you kind of give us a bit of an idea as to who the individuals will be that will be helping out with the academy and their experience in being able to pass that along to Umpire Academy participants?
Yeah, I don't know if we've necessarily figured out all the different instructors. I think it'll depend on locations of the different tournaments, especially the last two tournaments. But the idea would be they would be all either national or internationally certified umpires in our province. A lot of these umpires have done multiple international events. They've done professional baseball. They've done college baseball or the Western Canadian Baseball League. So there's tons of experience in this province that we can, depending on where it is, we may ask that person just to save money. But every area of the province, we have lots of people that we could have as instructors that will become very good instructors for us.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a case of just the random guy from the middle of East Central Alberta that has umpired for 25 years in a small community helping out. It's folks that have had a chance to work professional baseball, college baseball, international events such as the Olympics, World Baseball Classic, World Cup, that will be helping these folks and teaching them a thing or two on how to become good umpires and even better people moving forward.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, we are getting close to kind of the end of our time this evening with our point of the plate as it relates to the Baseball Alberta Umpire Academy. So if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat. Uh, you did state that the deadline, Rob, for the application for the Umpire Academy was May 1st. After that deadline of May 1st, when are you expecting to kind of notify folks if they were successful or not in being selected for the Umpire Academy?
I think the hope would be in probably the first week to 10 days, because we do have a tournament that is at the end of that month. So they'll need to know as soon as possible. So maybe it'd be less than a week to 10 days, but for sure no longer, I don't think, than that.
Yeah, especially given the fact that we're going to be bringing these folks to different sites with their costs covered for that, and train them up at those various tournaments and events, send them back to their home communities or home areas, and still follow up with them, but do that kind of 3 times during that year, hopefully.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the other questions that's popped up is we've talked about the number of potential applicants being 8 or even more, depending on how much interest is there. Uh, is it going to be something that each area of the province is going to have umpire academy participant, or is it just based on wherever the top applicants come from is where they come from?
Yeah, it'll be wherever the top applicants come from is where they come from. We're not trying to have like one from each area or anything of that. It would be great to have applicants from every area, but we are just going to take who we think would benefit the most from this first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And kind of from a communication standpoint, what are some of the things or initiatives that we have been working on in spreading the word to folks? And what are some other ways in which people can help spread the word in regards to the Baseball Alberta Umpire Academy?
Well, definitely, it's going to be talked about at all the level 1 and 2 clinics this year. So if you attend one of those, the instructor should be talking about it. The instructors will also be on the lookout for candidates that they think might be good students for the Umpire Academy, and those are being sent to me as well. And I'll be reaching out to those candidates and hoping that they will apply. Our biggest fear is that nobody applies, and then we won't have anybody to choose from. But I'm sure there'll be lots applying. I hope. But yeah, that's some of it. And then I think we're going to be promoting this a little bit on social media, some of that, but mainly our level 1, 2 clinics. As you attend them, you'll learn about the Umpire Academy, and hopefully after you've learned about it, you'll go online and apply for it.
You know, absolutely. And I do know I just recently did the level 1 and 2 clinics in Red Deer, and we talked about the Umpire Academy for a few minutes. The umpire instructors at all the level 1 and 2 clinics also are being tasked with identifying some folks and that would be good candidates for the academy, encouraging them to apply, as well as we are plugging this information out on our Baseball Alberta Umpires Facebook page and Instagram account. Please feel free to share any of that information with your friends or anyone you might think would be interested in being a part of the Umpire Academy, especially if you're a umpire assigner or a local person in your association that is helping with the development of umpires. One question that has came out from Matt is wondering, so with the BC model, he's assuming that they bring their umpires back a couple of times a year as part of the academy to focus on things much like we're planning on doing. Uh, is that actually the case, or is it a one and done? They're only in the academy for a year, or is there a graduation? How does that kind of work out in terms of their length of time in the academy?
My understanding in BC is that they only do this tournament once at a year. It's not multiple times through the year, but one of the things when we talked about this is we thought it would be better to do multiple times a year, and have that way we can bring the students back and see kind of what they've been taught and what they've been working on since we last saw them, and then hopefully they're improving those skills. So that is kind of, it's a little bit different than I think what BC does. But I do believe BC also runs multiple weekends in a row where they run the Umpire Academy, where they're bringing in, 8 to 10 students each time. So slightly different, but done for this way for different reasons.
Yeah, no, that is really good information moving forward. We just have a couple more minutes before we wrap up our point of the plate for this evening. One of the other questions that we do have, Rob, is in terms of the Baseball Alberta Umpire Academy, is there going to be any sort of free swag or ways in which people can highlight that they are a part of this exciting initiative?
I guess you'll have to apply and find out. No, I think the plan is to get some t-shirts, some undershirts for under your gear with the Umpire Academy logo on it. We're still kind of waiting. There's the Baseball Alberta, as you know, is changing their logo. There is a new umpire logo that's coming out. So we're kind of waiting on that before we do anything too crazy. But so there won't be a ton of swag, but we're definitely hoping for at least some t-shirts.
No, absolutely. And kind of our final question for this evening, Rob, if no others kind of pop through the chat, is if you had the quick kind of 30-second to 1 minute elevator pitch on the Baseball Alberta Umpires Academy, what would it be?
Well, it's just an exciting new initiative that we are just trying to make umpires in Alberta better, especially the young up and coming umpires. And come out to Umpire Academy, and we can definitely give you a professional style training of umpiring as over the year.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty darn good sales pitch there, Rob. And I do know that if folks are interested, as Rob mentioned earlier and showed in the video, which will be up on YouTube later on this month, is if you're interested in applying, please go to the Baseball Alberta website at baseballalberta.com. And under the Umpires tab, you'll see Umpires Academy and a link to apply to the Baseball Alberta Umpire Academy, with the deadline being May 1st to apply for the Baseball Alberta Umpires Academy. Other than that, it appears that there are no other questions for this evening. Any other kind of final thoughts, final words of wisdom, Rob?
Just checking with the committee, Corey, Matt, Brad, anything you want to add? Put you on the spot. Oh, looks like they're all good.
I think you got everything, Rob.
Perfect.
Yeah. So with that, thank you very much, Rob, and the rest of your team, Brad, Corey, Matt, in taking part in tonight's Baseball Alberta Point of the Plate, our second one this season in regards to our new initiative, the Baseball Alberta Umpires Academy. Just as a note, for more information on that, please go to baseballalberta.com or check out the Baseball Alberta Umpires websites, being the Facebook page, the Instagram account, and other avenues that are posted out by Baseball Alberta. This episode will be on YouTube and Spotify in the next few days. So if you've missed something or need to go back, feel free to check that out. Moving forward, our next Baseball Alberta Umpires Point of the Plate will be on April the 4th at 7 p.m., where Brad Johnston and the Mentorship Task Force will be discussing our umpire mentorship and moving that forward. So feel free to join us on April 4th. But for tonight, I am Jeff Chipley, alongside Rob Allan. Thank you for attending our Point of the Plate, and have a great rest of your night.